Oh, good. I'm off. I'm unmuted. Thank you. Debbie, thank you so very much. Your energy is wonderful. It's catching. It's catching to all of us. I'm so grateful to be here. So grateful to be here with you. And as you can see, my topic, loving our legacies, there is enough conversation that we could have together about loving our legacies that probably would extend into what my definition of mourning would be, since I'm on the East Coast right now. So I hope that this time that we do have together will be a time of sharing and support and stimulating each other. I want to just start out with, as I was preparing for tonight, I was thinking in these past days and thinking to myself that when I first started on the board, I did have an opportunity to share with at one of the regional groups. And I thought to myself that 2 years ago, and my experiences 2 years ago have been so enriched by being on the board these past 2 years and having an opportunity to serve on the AAWS board for last year. And I'm just amazed at really, really looking at how much I have really grown in my understanding of this precious mission of AA and in being a part of the fellowship, and most importantly, experiencing the fellowship. I have grown tremendously, and I'm honored. I truly am honored to be able to serve AA as a Class A trustee. So I'm beginning my third year now as a Class A trustee. I have served and participated in the Finance Committee these last couple of years, archives, corrections, public information. I'm just starting these past several months in the international desk, two search committees I've been involved in, and am now chairing for the first time the 1728 committee. So as I am involved in many, many parts of AA and the life of AA at the General Service Board level, I am just amazed and gratified and overwhelmed with my colleagues on the board, both Class A and Class B. And I don't even think about Class A or Class B, we're all in it together. And how much work and dedication comes from the General Services Board and my experience on the AAWS board. The opportunity truly is to serve the fellowship. That's who we're accountable to. That's, basically we're stewards on behalf of the fellowship. And we all have the same mission, is to reach the suffering alcoholic. And that truly is what it's all about. Many times in my own background, I've used the upside down triangle to express a notion that the bottom of the triangle is support. It's the foundation. The top of the triangle, the pinnacle, is really our mission. And basically, as a trust, I feel, as a General Services Board, we're at the bottom for a foundation that gives support to all of you who are so much closer to the suffering alcoholic. And that is our role, to give support, to continue to give support. And I'm truly, again, amazed at how much I see among our colleagues, the witness that's given, the witness is given in the freely giving of the gifts that each person does. And everybody's focused on the mission. We're all focused together on the mission. So I'm going to start out with a brief summary of how I got here. I'm a little unusual. I don't have a family member that has been a part of AA. I'm not a part of Al-Anon. I've just had a whole professional and adult life, and I believe it's God's providence associated with AA. As a teenager, I started on a part-time job at St. Vincent Charity Hospital. And why is the hospital significant? I'll tell you in a moment. But I started as a pharmacy technician at St. Vincent Charity Hospital. And one of the major departments that we had at St. Vincent's was Rosary Hall. Rosary Hall was founded by Sister Ignatia Gavin, one of the co-founders of AA with Dr. Bob and Bill W. Sister Ignatia started at St. Thomas Hospital and the Sisters of Charity St. Thomas Hospital in Akron, Ohio. She started in the admitting office, met Dr. Bob, and the rest is history. Thousands and thousands of alcoholics have been supported and cared for. And she then, in the early 50s, went to St. Vincent Charity. And she was still living when I was a pharmacy technician there. And young kid, didn't know a lot of things in those days, let alone what treatment for alcoholism was. And I worked for 2 years in the hospital, part-time, and became very familiar with the staff and the program of AA. And saw Sister Ignatia walking up and down the halls, and usually having a number of people with her, in which I later found out mostly were sponsors and volunteers for the program. So our addiction medicine doctors laugh today because I can still recite all the medications that I took up to Rosary Hall for detox. And some of the medications were pretty traditional, and they would be very traditional today. But I always somehow, mainly because my religious congregation was so connected and dedicated and committed to the care of the alcoholic, service to the alcoholic. And I found myself connected because of that. Sister Ignatia died when I was a novice in the order. And I remember where I was when she died. I remember that at her funeral, because we were only novices at the time, we weren't finally professed. We were put in the choir loft because there were no other seats available in the cathedral. We were supposed to be singing, but we were put in the choir loft. And I remember Bill W. and his dedication and his tribute to Sister Ignatia at the time of the funeral. So I have attended many events throughout my religious life, and that are dedicated to Sister Ignatia, continuing her legacy. And it's not the Sisters of Charity, it's AA. Well, I would say we're part of it, but it's really AA continuing her legacy and celebrating anniversaries, celebrating her presence. In the Cleveland area, we have church services, coming to the cemetery and her gravesite, etc. And so a number of times if I'm going to wakes, people will ask me, oh, are you a friend of Bill W.'s? And I said, absolutely, I'm a friend of Bill W.'s. I'm a non-alcoholic, but I'm a friend of Bill W.'s. Without a doubt, there's no question about that. So my life in the congregation, my own personal history, I had it when the convent asked, what would you like to do if you became a sister and were able to do it? I had two requests. One was that I would continue as a pharmacist. I would continue in pharmacy. And the second was that I would be a nurse at Rosary Hall, which obviously the community made the decision in those days. And I moved forward with becoming a pharmacist, but having a lot of connections with Rosary Hall. So through Sister Ignatia, St. Thomas Hospital, and St. Vincent's Charity, my religious order was very close, continues to be very close to the care for the suffering alcoholic. So I have been a number of years in leadership in my religious order. I'm called congregational leader. And I had a wonderful, wonderful opportunity, and my whole community did, in 2015, when at the International Convention in Atlanta, we were able to receive the 35th millionth book of AA. I went representing our community along with one of our sisters who lived with Sister Ignatia during her ministry at St. Vincent's. And it was just overwhelming to me. Overwhelming to see the thousands of people in the Georgia Dome who were on fire, truly on fire, just like Dave was moments ago, and really with the spirit of AA. So never doubt the impact of AA gathered and the witness that it gives. I often think of that moment in my own life to see how the fellowship is truly able to influence each other as common sufferers, talking to each other, assuring the vision of the co-founders that it would be carried on. Don't worry, Bill W. It's being carried on. It truly is being carried on, and assisting the suffering alcoholic well into the future. It was at the International Convention that our board chair, Terry, raised the issue with me and invited me to consider becoming a Class A member of the board, of the General Services Board. He said it's kind of down the road. So it was like 4 years down the road, I believe. So I kind of, sorted it out, put it in my head, but it wasn't anything that had an immediacy to it. And so later on, a couple years ago, actually, a few years ago, I was on a tour of Akron. Believe it or not, I live minutes away from Akron, Ohio, and I never was on the tour. But Michelle, my friend Michelle, our archivist, and Greg, our general manager, and invited me to come on the Akron tour, the AA tour. So I did. And this is going to sound, like I'm trying to create a romantic situation here, but we were in the cemetery where Dr. Bob was buried. We were in the cemetery, and Michelle got a call, and it was from Terry, and Terry was saying, asking me again, would I consider being a nominee, obviously not elected right away, a nominee as a Class A trustee on the board. So many times as being in what I've given, what my primary goal is in life as a religious, I have gotten many crisis calls from people who needed help. I'm not a professional counselor, or I don't even hold myself to be a professional counselor, but people who are in distress, have family members, have members of religious communities, priests and nuns, family members, loved ones, friends, employers that need to have their employees cared for because they are suffering alcoholics. So many times I've been involved in mainly referring to our members of AA who can be of support and care. So I just read a short story that when I think about the legacies of AA, I think about the aspects of recovery, the aspect of unity and service. And I just read a short story that I thought was kind of simple to talk about really AA. A person navigating in a large boat destined for distant shores meets an iceberg, shaking up its hope for a trip, shaking up its hope for security and safety on the trip. Then there's a humble lifeboat that comes around and holds our hope and the possibility for a future, because that lifeboat can allow, even though this large boat is damaged, et cetera, it could allow, and if you take the analogy of a suffering alcoholic, to surrender and to be saved by the higher power in our lives, who will bring us from this damaged boat to safety and security in a beautiful life, even though we might have the challenges that we have. On, on restful waters, we know that that lifeboat is there. And that lifeboat requires a community that can work together to bring people to safety, to bring people to sobriety, even in difficult circumstances, trusting one another, knowing that we cannot find the shore and get to it alone. The fellowship, my experience, provides love and compassion and response to the call of the moment for each suffering alcoholic to find that lifeboat, our higher power, and reach its destination, sobriety, because of the fellowship that surrounded all of us with love and care. The following quote from Bill W. came from our Grapevine daily quotes. I really read those daily quotes each day, and I'm a Class A non-alcoholic trustee, but I'm telling you, I get a lot out of those Grapevine quotes. And this is one from Bill W. Our traditions are set down on paper, but they were written first in our hearts. For each of us knows instinctively, I think, that AA is not ours to do with as we please. We are but caretakers, stewards, to preserve the spiritual quality of our fellowship. Keep it whole for those who will come after us and have need of what so generously has been given to each one of us. End of quote. Grapevine has been a source for me of reaching out to the suffering alcoholic to offer the hand of AA. I've been associated with the prison in Allendale, South Carolina, and introduced to their AA program there. I support several subscriptions for the participants, which they have truly appreciated. At one point, I received homemade pot holders from the men, from the prisoners, in return for their gratitude for receiving Grapevine. So that really meant a lot to me. I've used subscriptions when, whether it's family members or others in my life, have needed the hand of AA to be there for them. I first had the time to think about the three legacies of AA a couple of years ago when I gave a presentation on the whole legacy of service. And I keep going back to this moving experience of our international at the Georgia Dome and the numbers and the energy in the room. It's so evident of the unity that connects all of us as AA. The international shows the expansion of this mission throughout the world. I mean, we were getting the recognition of the 35th millionth book, obviously on behalf of Sister Ignatia Gavin and her presence in our community and the work that she did, collaborating with the founders of AA. That's, well, all we needed to do, and I did in my remarks, mention that she came from Ireland. We were in process of leaving the international, and it was like we were followed by the paparazzi. The delegates from Ireland, I mean, we were like, I don't know, and I mean, the humility of it all, in that it's all with Sister Ignatia, but they were all coming to us like we were, and we were stars or TV personalities or whatever. We didn't know how to deal with it at all, even to the security line at the airport. And so it was overwhelming, but that's the expansion. I was visiting my family in Chile, and we were going down a main thoroughfare in Chile, and there I saw the sign saying AA, and my heart just is so connected. but it tells the unity that we experience and the living out of that legacy, the unity legacy. I was so grateful that I finally, 2 years later, and experiencing the beauty of the fellowship, 2 years later, I now know more than I did 2 years ago and serve, so I could serve better as a Class A trustee. There's much more than the 12 steps, the 12 traditions, the 12 concepts, reaching out to the suffering alcoholic, and all of that, as Bill W. said, all on paper, but all being lived and all being, we're all meant, you're all mentors, not me, you're all mentors to living out of the 12 steps, the 12 traditions, the 12 concepts. So it's all about common welfare. It's not about personal preferences. In a very direct way, the hand of AA is in all of the activities and the decisions. And I experienced that, and hopefully I'm being faithful to that as a board member of the class, as a Class A trustee. One of the things that is very impressive to me when I first came on the board, and I've been on boards probably 40, close to 45 years, not-for-profit boards. And my colleagues on the General Services Board laughed at me when I said this. My first months, I was like shell-shocked. And I had so much experience on boards, but I was shell-shocked with our General Services Board because of how what it was. It was a board accountable to the membership. It was a board that had 12 traditions, 12 concepts on how we operated. And those were all on behalf of our stewardship role, on behalf of AA, the membership, and most importantly, the mission, the reaching the hand of AA. And I'll tell you, the thing that most impressive is really arriving at a group conscience. And that's not easy. That is not easy to do. Arriving at a group conscience. And we are absolutely, without a doubt, accountable for that. We should not make a major decision impacting the membership without arriving at a group conscience. And not only that, but when a minority opinion is indicated, it has been expressed, spending time to listen to what the minority opinion is, so that as we make decisions on behalf of the membership, that as we make decisions, that we hear the membership, but that we also are getting all the aspects of truth that enables us to make the best decisions that we can on behalf of that mission that we all serve in helping the suffering alcoholic. So why is this board different? Well, the whole environment of the 12 concepts, the 12 traditions, the 12 steps, it's very different. There's no hierarchy that I can see. There's probably a little bit of it, but not much. It's the membership. It's the membership and listening and hearing to the membership that's so important. It's an organic activity that enables us to carry the message. I've been, when I first came on the board, my colleagues said, wait till you go to conference. They had just finished conference, for 2019. Wait till you go to conference. You'll love conference. Well, since I've been on the board, I have been attending 2 conferences, both of them virtual. So I'm very anxious and cannot wait till we have a in-person conference. And I learned a lot during conference. And one of the things that I kept saying to myself, I had led our hospitals in an administrative role, et cetera. And I kept saying, boy, this is kind of inefficient. They're asking this, they're getting this approval, that approval, everybody's approving all of this. But I got it now. I get it. I get it. Who are we serving? And our organic organization that's so dependent on caring for the membership, not just a board or not just a CEO or not just, it's all about all of us working towards serving the alcoholic. So another thing I was thinking about was how I see in the lives of the trustees that have, I know are going to be lifelong friends for me, how I see how one Class B alcoholic trustee cares for another. And whether you're A or B, I feel the love. And we all feel the love of the fellowship. There's no question about it. And I really have pondered on that. I also pondered on the 12 steps. And I've been thinking about this a long time, half my life. But the 12 steps are not just for the suffering alcoholic, or the 12 steps are a spiritual path that is so deep for all of us that really are searching for a higher power in our life. They're for all of us. And we think about the despair that the suffering alcoholic might have at a certain point in their lives. No question about it. But I also know I had a spiritual director that I had a retreat with 2 years ago, 2 years ago, and he died, and I knew he had a terminal illness, but I never accepted the fact that he would go as fast as he did. But anyhow, he gave me about 20 copies of a prayer. He thought that I really needed this prayer, but I had 20 copies of the fellow. And it was entitled, I Thirst for You. And we know when the suffering alcoholic is in, walking the steps, doing the steps, trying to, really hand over to God or to a higher power their lives. It's tough. It's very tough. It's very tough. But this prayer basically says, I'm not just here. I'm not thirsting. You're not thirsting for me. Yeah, you are thirsting for me. You need me. You need to hand over this disease of alcoholism to me, and together we'll walk this path. But it also is the higher power saying, hey, I want to be with you. I'm here waiting for you. I want to be with you. I want to be with you. And that's just one example of many, many ways that as we get to know, as I get to know more and more about the fellowship in AA and the 12 steps, that I've learned more and more about the spiritual journey that it is for all of us. For all of us. We all have addictions and we all have needs. So the 12-step work is really a blessing. So the 12-step work is a blessing. So unity, an experience of unity, is every single day in AA. We're all about the same. We're all about finding new ways of serving the suffering alcoholic. As we're all in recovery from many ways. And I often think of Ignatia and how did she get to St. Thomas Hospital and Dr. Bob? She had an emotional breakdown. She was a music teacher and she had an emotional breakdown and needed help. So my community gave her a ministry of being an admitting director at St. Thomas Hospital, our hospital in Akron, Ohio. And with that, she met Dr. Bob. With that, she fell in love with Elkies, as she called them, the alcoholics that came into the emergency department, the alcoholics that Dr. Bob said, sister, I need to admit this alcoholic. She believed very strongly that alcoholism was a disease. It was not just a social malady. And, that's all about service to others. And through that, she maintained her own recovery, her own health, and her whole life was spent, without a doubt, in really service and serving others. When I heard the term, and I've been associated, as I said, with AA for quite a while, but I never heard the term trusted servants until I became a member of the board. And when I heard the term trusted servants, I thought, you know what? That's it. That's really it. Trusted servants. I often think, at board level, you all know, and you all know it from your home groups, you all know it from all regions, all of the aspects of AA. We don't all agree on stuff, do we? We don't all agree on stuff. Well, we don't agree on stuff at the General Services Board either. And we have, it's worth it for us, isn't it? It's worth it for us to try to deal and to find solutions, find the group conscience, be respectful of the minority opinion. It's worth all of that. It's worth all of that. But trusted servants. When I see the level of involvement of the board, General Service Board, and then when I see what each one of you does in your own groups, your own home groups, it's a significant dedication. And it really says to me that you really understand what service means and how critical it is to sobriety and how critical it is to sobriety. So trusted servants, I believe, means an awful lot. We spend a lot of time on editing pamphlets. We spend a lot of time on assuring the quality of Grapevine. We spend a lot of time on books. We spend a lot of time on I was on archives committee for 2 years now. All of those things are very important. And your home groups have archives. All of this is so important to the life of AA and our ability to continue to reach out and to send the message. One of the things that has been part of our strategic planning process is that we need to continue to promote AA to those persons who are closest to the suffering alcoholic. And one of the things that has come out of the strategic planning process, as this has been disseminated throughout the membership, is the whole notion of using the Class A trustees, who respect the anonymity piece, but are not bound by the anonymity as the Class B trustees would be. But to be out there and promote AA, and I know promote is a little sensitive verb to be using, but to promote it in a way that we're able to get to the suffering alcoholic. And we're talking about healthcare professionals that would be right there to help someone that has the disease of alcoholism to find AA. So that's a very important priority that we have. And there's no Class A trustee that I've heard that is not willing to do that on behalf of the program. It's an honor. It truly is an honor to be able to be out there and represent the fact that AA is an opportunity for those persons that are suffering from alcoholism. There's a couple more quotes from Grapevine that I would like to share. One is Reverend Shoemaker, who we all know from the history of AA. Before we can be of any use to anybody else, we must find the beginnings of the answer for ourselves. before we can help anyone else, before we can be of service to anyone else. We must find the beginnings of the answer for ourselves. And another quote of service. I go to a lot of meetings. I get there early and help set up. I stay late and help clean up. I extend my hand as it was extended to me. I have been given a second chance, and I'm here to be of service. That just says, really, no matter what it takes by any of us to help a fellow alcoholic, no matter what it takes, we want to be there. Just getting the coffee set up to, the contributions that our members freely give. All of that is helping the suffering alcoholic. I look at the work that I have been called to as a member of the General Services Board. I'm just one person in a large group of men and women that are committed. And then if you add all the membership and all of the groups to what we do, it's a tremendous hand reaching out. It's a tremendous group of people dedicated to the mission of AA, dedicated to that mission, and willing to do whatever it takes to continue that mission and helping others. So it truly is an honor. And, Class A non-alcoholic, I can't tell you how much I receive personally from sitting on that board and from experiencing so much from the fellowship, serving wherever and whenever to assure the mission of AA. I often think of, what was it, a Mother's Day that Bill W. and Dr. Bob first met each other, and they started talking. I'm an alcoholic. Bill W., I'm an alcoholic, and that was the first kernel of really the AA movement, of telling each other, supporting each other. We're in this together. Let's go on. So I feel very privileged and honored as a Class A trustee that I have been called to that important role as part of the whole, not to promote me personally, but as part of the whole, that I would have an opportunity to be able to serve. The service piece is so important. And it's not about serving in order to have something returned to us. It's about serving so that all that we do goes back to the person that is suffering. So I'm thrilled and honored to be here with you. I'm thrilled and honored to observe the fellowship among the General Service Board and among the General Service Office and all the work that is done to help make the mission happen. And I thank you for allowing me to be here with you today. So thank you so very, very much.
Thank you.